Hey kids, it's time to get some SML podcast all up in that.
What's up, everybody? This is the SML podcast. I am your host, Joe. Joining as usual, Cole. How are you doing?
Fuck, I don't know. I'm not ready to answer hard questions. I guess I'm not dead, so I'm fine.
The hard questions.
Yeah, like, wait, like, ask me about a game. Don't ask me about my personal existence. That's garbage.
Well, we heard Tim. Tim, how's your personal existence?
It's good, I guess.
You guess.
Yes. It's ups and downs. Yeah. My child went. I don't know. Our county's a fucking mess. Our child went full remote and is learning this week, and it sucks ass.
See, I've been doing that since August.
Yeah.
My brain is fried.
Yeah. No, after his 2 sessions, because he doesn't have that much like synchronous remote learning, because it's supposed to be only temporary. So he only has a little bit, but like the first session's a total shit show and a waste of time. And the second one is a bit better, but then also getting him to do his other stuff. And like, I was just prone on the couch at like 11 o'clock. And then when my kid finished his homework, he came over and we had to talk about our feelings and our regrets over our behavior that morning. And then FedEx finally showed up with my PS5 and everything was good.
I feel like you got rewarded for your negative behavior.
I did. We were like laying on the couch and I like heard the truck pull up and I saw it was FedEx.
You threw the child off you and ran to the door.
I did. I don't know. He was crying. Yeah, so he was crying because the package wasn't for him. Like, is it for me? No, it's not for you.
Well, not knowing anything to do with kids, also along with me, Pernell and Chris, how are you two doing?
I'm still not knowing what the heck's up with kids, but not complaining because honestly, given the circumstances, the last thing I want to deal with is making sure that my little ones are okay in a world that's gone bonkers. So I'm okay with that. Just still trying to get my exercise in and trying to keep focus and dealing with crazy people and also trying to exploit buy two get one sales because that's what I do.
Oh boy. How are you exploiting it? What are you doing?
Well, I shouldn't say splitting as in like really, like, I'm not ripping anybody off. It's just more like trying to get stuff now with the intent being to flip it back later when something I actually want comes out. So like I ended up.
You monster.
I know. I'm such a piece of shit.
Yep.
So like I bought Sakuna of Rice and Ruin and then I bought Yakuza last week. And then on Sunday I learned about the sale. So I went and bought stuff, one of which I was hoping would be Yakuza, so I could buy it and then take the one I purchased back to Best Buy, or rather, take back the one I buy at Target to Best Buy, the money back, because I didn't know the sale was going to be this week, but they didn't have a copy in stock. And then, of course, they have it in stock today, but I'm not going to drive up there just for that, because then that becomes a waste, because I'm only technically making a net gain return of like, I guess $40 or so. But at the same time, I was like, the games I bought with the buy two get one were Crash 4, which I already want. I was waiting for that sale to get specifically that game. Watch Dogs Legion and Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which means either Watch Dogs or Assassin's Creed is going to get returned. Most likely Assassin's Creed.
No, I would return Watch Dogs and buy it at Best Buy because it's $30 at Best Buy this week.
Watch Dogs Legion is already. Yes. Holy shit, that game's not doing well.
Because it's their Black Friday deals are up early. So normally it would be $30 in 2 weeks, but because it's Black Friday month, it's $30 right now. So yeah,
way it's worth it. Then maybe I will do that. See, it's all kinds of like trying to finagle it to make sure you get the best price on your stuff. And
you're not going to play.
No, actually, quite the contrary. I've been doing.
I don't believe this for a minute.
Bullshit.
Well, like, you're not going to play your copy of Yakuza, Pernell. See you here talking about in 5 months. I'm like, well, guess what, bitch?
No, I actually believe you're playing your copy of Yakuza. I don't believe you're going to play Watch Dogs.
Actually, shoot, you're probably right about Watch Dogs. But for the sake of me being defiant, I'll show you. I'll play the hell out of it eventually. But yeah, like
after you beat Ori, right?
First of all, Ori became just like a pet project of not playing because it's just become fun to say, I'll get to it. Never.
He's intentionally not playing it just to piss you off, Cole.
You are a cruel monster, and you're only hurting yourself.
I think you're a wonderful person, Cole.
Chris, have you played Ori?
Out here telling
no. Not to any meaningful degree. I think I started
I
it. I
can't function with this. How do I hang up the call?
You got to get right on it. Go Ori it out. But the thing with Yakuza, though, is that as odd as it seems, like I love the fact that it started as that April Fool's joke, and then it became a real game. Which, let's be real, it was probably already a real game, but they were like, let's see how they react if we make it an April Fool's joke. But it's what I wanted in like these kinds of games for a long time anyway. I wanted a modern RPG, turn-based RPG that has jobs where the jobs are actual jobs, not like fancy jobs. The only thing I wish is that you actually had some kind of a job you had to maintain while doing the other mission-based hero stuff. Because it sounds corny because it's like as little fantasy as it can possibly be, but I want an actual modern day RPG where the main characters are full-blown adults, like in Yakuza, where they're dealing with the trials and tribulations of being adults while also getting the chance to go on an adventure. Because if you've seen those memes people have been passing around lately where it'll be like, well, you're 30 years old, you haven't got the mission yet. Oh, that's right. Like, it's like, it sticks out though. It's like, if you've been playing RPGs for much of your life, you know that half the time the main character is like a 16-year-old war general. And so it's like, it's kind of funny how, like, if you've been playing that long.
Son of the previous war general.
Exactly. Like, somehow you got promoted very fast. Nepotism. But then in the end, it's like, well, I'm an old man now. Old being 30, which means now I'm a grandpa in some game while the 15-year-old's going off and saving the world, and I'm ruminating about how much I like Cheerios in some small podunk town. It blows. I want to be the hero, but I'm also 45. What do I do? Well, you need to make a game like that. It's amazing that actually hasn't even happened. Like, that's one of those cases where I don't think games grew up with the gamers in that sense. Because, like, obviously there's still young gamers too, but the people who were around when the whole concept started are older now. They're grown-ass old people. Give them some games where they can feel like they're the actual protagonists. Or like there's like a sense of like, I do go to work every day and fuck my job, but in some fantasy land, I too could be fighting weird flan monsters in the sewers. Peanuts. That could be me. You know, be a nice thing.
And flan monsters.
Fighting them with melee attacks because that's just how hard-headed I am.
You gotta use magic against those. You know that.
Everybody knows that.
But you gotta spend skill points for them. And I ain't got time for skill point spending. I want to hoard them. Melee!
Chris, you know to use magic, right?
Oh, yeah. Indubitably.
Oh, yeah. Sure, yeah.
Chris isn't even paying attention. He's like, you guys are talking without me. Fuck it. I'm just gonna play games.
Yeah, the Spellbobs.
Yeah, this is one of those days where, like, everything's happening at once. So, like, yeah.
Season.
What's happening on your end?
So I've got a little bit of a recording thing that's kind of secret until it comes out. And I'm discussing the particulars of that with the person who's mixing it. So that came up while while the Skype call was going on. I was like, wait. And so and then past that I am also playing games.
Sweet games.
Terrible.
Horrible.
I know.
That's how you multitask, baby.
I would never play games while we're trying to record.
Oh, I know.
As we hear the game going, level up. What are you doing, Cole?
Playing Tetris.
Are there any modern games that actually yell out level up at you when you level up?
There has to be.
I'm sure of it. Yeah, like, it's a thing. People like...
I just know
It's affirmation.
Yeah, well, I know Altered Beast always had the power up when you turned into an even more ridiculous, muscly man and on your way to becoming the Altered Beast.
The Altered Beast.
Mm-hmm.
Like in a
Oh, man.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Oh, Lord. What is wrong with us?
Alcohol.
Everything and
I
nothing.
don't even have that excuse. I just exist.
Me neither. I've just got like hot tea in front of me.
Hot tea.
I see. I do have hot tea here. I got green tea. I've been apparently reteaching myself that green tea burns fat. Apparently, so like chug that shit.
Yeah, I've really taken to this like super caffeinated Earl Grey, like instead of coffee at night. So it's pretty nice. As I say on my own stream, as we say, steep in a hot one with the boys.
That's my kind of dialogue there. I'm an Earl Grey guy, though I can't perceive drinking it at night because, woof. But I love the stuff very much.
My system is extremely steeled against any attempts to make it more energetic.
Like, look here, boyo. Stop trying to fight it. Just let it roll off. It's hot. Go to bed.
Exactly.
But I know wants to.
Like, oh boy, energy drink. Okay, time for a nap.
I have chronic fatigue, so that's how that shit works for me.
I know what my excuse is. It's that I have a labor job, but still.
Oh, bitch.
Oh, God.
I'm just saying that's the reason I fall asleep every time I sit down or stop moving.
You fall asleep during the show at all? Like when we're doing reviews that don't involve you?
I did one time.
Did you?
Yes.
I have.
Yes, I have. It was a long time ago, though, so I cannot remember what. And I woke up so
Confused. So fucking confused.
No. Like I woke up like so completely that it was the perfect crime. I got away with it, and now only just now am I
admitting to your misdeeds.
Now that
admitting,
this,
Now that you
statute of limitations are up, yeah.
Nicole, you fallen asleep during the show?
I have. Yeah.
How? You talk the most.
I'm on copious
Doesn't mean
amounts
she's
of
awake.
Vicodin, and shit happens.
Shit gets wild on Vicodin.
Like they're like, "Hey, do you have pain?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Here's Vicodin." And I'm like, "Okay."
I'm guessing it was a Tuesday you fell asleep on.
Yeah, it was because
Okay.
you guys talk more, and I can get away with a little more.
And then I mention you out of nowhere, and it wakes you up, and you have to unmute.
And then I'm like, "The fuck are you even talking about?"
Yeah, I totally agree.
Hmm?
Yeah.
Wake up. Yes.
Yeah, I've done that. I've just gone, yeah, and I have no idea what I just agreed to.
Like, by the way, Ori.
I don't always like have to fall asleep either because like where I have rheumatoid disease, I have brain fog, and if I've gone without my medicine for a long time, you guys get to talking, I'm gone. I just and my brain just goes, "Hey, nap time," and shuts off. And I could be sitting here wide awake, and you all say my name. I'm like, "Who are you again?"
Yeah.
I can't do it.
What is my job again?
What is this? What
I gotta
day?
talk to you fuckers.
Yeah, I make some mistakes in life.
What a bunch of jokers.
Yeah, it's kind of like how like people-
jokers.
You go.
you get up and you go into the kitchen and you're like, the fuck I come into the kitchen for, right? There are times where I'm on the show, I'm like, what am I doing on the show tonight? Because my brain just goes, yoop, and wipes the slate clean. And I don't know
What the fuck are you doing on the show tonight?
We're reviewing Call of Duty.
Yeah, should we get to it?
We
Watch
should.
that transition.
Yeah, that was a smooth one.
Lazy. You're getting lazy.
Nap time.
All right, let's get this started. First game to talk about tonight is called Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, developed by Treyarch and Raven Software and like a dozen other studios, published by Activision, released November 13th on Xbox One, Series X and S, PS4, PS5, and PC for $59.99.
That's going to be a lot of talking for the near future. A lot of consoles to mention.
Oh, God, yeah. A
Oh,
cross-gen bundle is available for $69.99 and includes both the current and next-gen versions for your console. As elite operatives, you will follow the trail of a shadowy figure named Perseus, who is on a mission to destabilize the global balance of power and change the course of history. Descend into the dark center of this global conspiracy along iconic characters Woods, Mason, and Hudson, and a new cast of operatives attempting to stop a plot decades in the making. Cole, tell us about Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War.
Holy shit! I think we're gonna run out of the colons
that was
in between.
Lot of copy.
Yeah, like just what? What game did I play? You know, the crazy thing about all that too is that it's one game, but there's like 4 games to talk about here.
Mm-hmm.
It's really 4 separate games crammed into one, and like you just kind of go, yeah, that's there, that's there, that's there. So what is there? The campaign is the first thing to talk about. I hope you guys are ready. This is a 45-minute review.
No.
I got to spend 10 minutes on each section of the game.
Well, one of them's Warzone, and
I got it. No.
It's mostly unchanged.
Warzone's not technically out yet until they blend it together like a bastard love child in December.
So
Warzone aside, we got the campaign. We see the return of some of the characters from the original Black Ops. This is supposed to be a full-fledged sequel. We are playing as a new character whose codename is Belle. You actually get to choose the character's name and gender, and people are mad. Or lack thereof. People are mad about it. Let them be as they are.
Non-binary gender wasn't a thing in the 80s.
People are ridiculous. I guess they never heard of Prince or David Bowie or I don't know, Boy George. Anyway, we were very vibrant in the 80s. Thank you. Yeah, so you get to choose your character and all that. Your character never says anything. None of this really matters other than beyond the fact that they just like use your pronouns throughout the game, which is kind of cool. It's better than Black Ops 3, which tried to like ham-fist your character in. And if you chose a female character, she had the shaved head and everything too. And you're just like, and like she still smoked the cigar. And it was like, okay, they just took a male character model and put boobs on it. And it wasn't good. It wasn't a good way to make a female main character. But at least in this way, like there's no real evidence as to your character. I like that a lot better. I've seen people complain that the mirrors don't have a reflection, but I'm like, what did you expect them to do? You never pick what your character looks like. So you do get to pick your skin tone, and that only shows up on your hands. So I mean, it's a thing, but I do think it's better than what Treyarch has done in Black Ops in the past. Along with picking your character, your details, you also get to pick 2 perks to help you out in the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
I had a bit of a hitch with this, where I went through the whole process. I picked my character, and I set it all up. I played through about half the campaign. I shut the game down. I launched the game back. And then when I restarted my game, none of my stats had took. So I would like to point out that I beat the motherfucking campaign on veteran with no perks.
Wow.
And I'm mad about it. Because it was hard. I'm a Call of Duty pro. And, no autographs, please. But
I'll ask later.
Yeah, okay. I'll slide you one. Like I said, we get to see some of the characters that we've seen before. We go through Adler and Belle as they were in Vietnam. We get to go all over the goddamn place. I can't tell you anything without spoiling it, because this is one of the most ridiculous wild ride campaigns. And I say that despite the fact that, 3 had you like following a floating android ghost through memories. And still this one, like something about this one was just like, it is just constant chaos.
Sharks have been jumped.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things. Like, it's as weird as it is, it still reigns back from what 3 tried to do, and I can at least appreciate it a little bit. At least we're back to some boots on the ground, which has kind of been Call of Duty's mantra since everybody got mad about Infinite Warfare, and that's fine. I like to see that kind of gameplay far more. I don't need to be running along walls as badass as I was with the Sparrow. I don't need to be doing that again. But it also comes with a few hitches because it's just a weird story. Black Ops hinges a lot on the kind of missions that are illegal and under the radar and like the shit that you have deniable plausibility for, right? And so that kind of gives Treyarch license to like be ridiculous, and so they do. Go ahead.
No, is deniable plausibility the same thing as plausible deniability?
That too, because I told you, after I said it, I was like, nobody corrected me. I'm keep going, and then you fucking had to open your mouth. You're not allowed to talk anymore.
I had to think about it.
You're not supposed to correct me when I fuck up. You're just supposed to be like, Vicodin, and go. That too. But yeah, anyway.
So plausibility.
That too. Now I've got Hamilton stuck in my head. I don't want to get into it.
Anyway, Call of Duty.
So yeah. But yeah, the whole thing is just that it's supposed to be weird and off the cuff, and so Treyarch takes the license to be like overly cinematic. I will say the transitions from gameplay to cinematics in this are some of the best. It just feels smooth. Like when you're watching a cutscene and then you just immediately slide into gameplay. Like 1 minute you're watching the helo fly around, the next you're piloting that motherfucking helo, and it feels seamless. I really enjoy that. It gets a little weird when you're like blowing up airplanes with RC cars, but
that was a little. That was like this car is booking it.
The best part about it too is like if you clip the wheels on the bigger trucks, they fly off and go blowing up. But your little RC cars, it's like but. And you're like, yeah, you go, little RC car. You definitely did that. There's a little bit of deniability of physics involved.
It's plausible, though.
It's plausible. So yeah, crazy ass campaign, very smooth. I did have some issues other than the whole like it lost all my saves, like information about my character partway through. I don't know what the fuck happened there, but I did have some framiness. I did have some drops. I am on an Xbox One S still. I will be until my dying day at this point. I'm pretty sure it's more of a me problem than like if you're on a newer console or even on an X, you're probably not going to have the kind of issues I had.
I was playing it on an X and I did not have issues during gameplay. Like in those moments where it's like loading or there's like some narration going on and it's like panning over random shit, like that was framey.
Yeah.
So, like in the actual game, it was fine.
I would say I had it on the solid state drive, and I think it would have been worse if I had not had it on the solid state drive. So that
I have a query for you.
Yeah.
So I have okay. So the last Call of Duty I spent like significant time with was Modern Warfare 3.
I was gonna say I thought you were like anti Call of Duty. I'm
not anti. I just kind of maybe somewhere in the middle. I'm COD neutral.
Yeah,
COD neutral.
COD neutral. Well, I remember. This one in the campaign, and you're not going into too much detail about it, but they have a lot of there's side quest optional missions, and like unlocking or getting kind of the full breadth of some of those involves finding intel in other missions. Was that a thing before? In that, I know that the like Blops 2 had like some non-linear aspects to it. It seems like no one talks about Blops 3. I thought that was interesting because otherwise, I don't really care about collectibles, but this was a situation where I'm like, oh, well, wait, maybe I actually do give a shit about collectibles in this one because I want to see stuff.
Yeah, so Black Ops 2, for whatever fucked up reason, they had the bright idea to do like a semi-open world campaign.
This is interesting.
Excuse me. It was trash.
They had an idea.
I got so annoyed with it that it's one of the few I didn't finish. It just, I hated it. Whereas Black Ops 3 was just linear. Every other Call of Duty, fucking linear. I was a little disappointed that they opted to do the missions the way they did with Cold War. Because I was like, oh no, they didn't learn their lesson from Black Ops 2. It is significantly scaled down from what they tried to do with 2.
Yeah, it wasn't like it's not. This was like you go back to the map and then you can pick some side stuff. It's not like you're an open world. No.
And there is a point where you do get to a point of no return where you can't go back to that map anymore, and it is linear from there on out. And gratefully, they say, hey, look, that's a point of return. Make sure you got your shit straight before you do this. Unfortunately, that means that it does have different potential endings. I don't know why they did this. I don't like this in Call of. That's not what I'm here for. I will say, though, that as far as like finding the evidence, which is essentially the collectible intel in each mission, there's usually only 1 or 2 to be seen.
Mm-hmm. And
I got all of them my first run through on veteran without a guide. So it's doable.
I didn't, but I am not an expert. So
I didn't find anything either.
Shit, I'm sorry.
I found some, but I didn't find everyone.
Wow, these are really out there and easy, and I'm going to be really happy that I don't have to be like, hey, look, you could just go do it and not need a guide. And I found them.
Well, I didn't play as much as you two because I'm awful at first-person shooters, but I can chime in on the visuals. On the Series X, this game looks fucking nuts.
Oh, I imagine. I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Not on the 1X, on the Series X.
Yeah.
Oh, on the Series X.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'm jelly.
Sorry, they have a confusing naming scheme.
Yeah, just a little. Good job, Xbox.
But I'm jelly. I'm sure that it looks. I get frustrated with the way that hair has looked this past gen, and how it kind of just looks like patches of string stuck to a head, and it bothers me. And I just want to imagine that it's probably better on the Series X by now and doesn't look that bad anymore. But in the cutscenes, I was like, holy fuck, their hair looks so good. And then I got into the game and I was like, son of a bitch, their hair is trash.
I'm sorry, I didn't pay attention to the hair.
I know it's a silly thing, but it's just...
You find the weirdest shit to gripe about.
It's not even a gripe. It's just a personal thing I noticed. Like I remember playing PUBG and the hair literally looked like, what was the doll Angelica had in Rugrats, Cynthia? That's what the hair looked like to me. It's just standing there.
That's
I'm like, fuck! Do something!
Not even a character from the cartoon, just the doll one of the characters had.
Because her hair had been butchered by the little girl, and it was just like it stood straight out like a stick and was really thin. And that's what all hair has looked like to me this past generation of gaming. I get so frustrated with it.
Oh my god. So what other modes are in Call of Duty before you go on longer about hair?
In addition to the campaign, there is also multiplayer. Hooray! Multiplayer, they've pretty much just carbon copied not Warzone, but the lobbies from Modern Warfare. They've stuck with that same scheme. It's all fine. Looks good. They've also kept the gunsmith the same way that it has previously been. You're allowed to have 5 items, 5 attachments on your gun. It's up to you how you attach them, with some rules. Like you can't have a noob tube and a grip, because obviously that wouldn't fit, But if you're familiar at all with Modern Warfare, from last year, then you're familiar with the gunsmith and everything and know how to use that properly. If you don't, it's really the most idiot-proof multiplayer create a class system ever, and I think that's probably why they just decided to stick with it instead of going for something more complicated like the pick 10 that we had in the past. They did bring back the wild cards. That's nice. Gives a nice little throw in there to fuck things up. I do have one complaint about the multiplayer. It is an important one. There are only 8 maps.
That's it?
That's stupid.
Damn.
There are more studios that worked on the game than maps included in multiplayer. And I remember when Black Ops 1 came out and there were like 20 maps at launch and people were like, that's it? And now we're supposed to be like, oh, 8, that's cool.
Are they like big? Like, is there some aspect of them that makes up for the lack of them?
No.
They're the best maps ever?
No. And you know what's funny is that there's one of the maps and they were like, it's our first map that lets you fully be on the water. And the first time it came up, I jumped in the water and I died because it was out of bounds.
Oh.
Then what's the point?
Yeah, I don't know. You can jump in like in the middle of it, but not off to the sides because it's out of bounds. And I was like, wait a second. They hyped this whole map up as being, you could get in the water and you can't. It was a lie. But yeah, there's only 8 maps and I don't know. Modern Warfare had a shortage of maps because they broke theirs up to be available on different playlists.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I never run into any more than the 8 that I ran into, regardless of what playlist that was on. So that's it. What's there's that. Now they'll eventually add more, and they have been doing a solid enough job of like, hey, the maps are free. But at that point, they've beefed up Warzone, and everybody's playing that instead of the regular multiplayer anyway. And only like the more hardcore people like me are even fucking with it. So it's like, yeah, they're gonna add more eventually, but it feels cheap because in the past you would have the DLC, and by the time the DLCs were done, you'd have like 30 or 40 maps. And now you're like, oh, we might hit 12. And it's like, it's really disappointing. Especially because they have, that's one of the things that going through the campaign always kills me, because like, I like to look at the different scenes and imagine how different environments could be used as multiplayer maps. Because in past Call of Duty games, that's how it's been done, right? The multiplayer maps are typically modeled after areas with a few adjustments to make them balanced, but they're environments from the campaign. And so I was playing the campaign and I was like, oh, this is going to make such a really good map. And then I was like, oh, but never mind, there's only 8 of them. This isn't it.
I might postulate that is a result of the pandemic. And perhaps that was something that had to just eat it on the feature list.
There are 97 studios.
There's 800 studios, but hey, the pandemic is as worldwide as this development team.
It's true.
So maybe that's how many they needed just to get it out in this state. I mean,
I'm sure of it. Because that's, even with, the campaign and the multiplayer, look, there were plenty of times where we paid $60 for a campaign and multiplayer, and we were like, fuck yeah, that's great. And it is. But it would have had more maps. Instead of more maps, we get zombies, which is standard issue for a Black Ops game. All the Black Ops games have had zombies at this point. If they shipped one without it, I'd be like, what? In this case, I can't pronounce this. I can never pronounce the zombie map names. I can't English either. They're usually German, and I'm just like, that map. And that's how we are again. Again, though, we're in a position where they've only released one map, technically. And I'll get to that in a second. But they've only released the one map. Now, Black Ops 1 only had one map, and that was fine. But the last couple of Call of Duties have had 2, 3, 4 maps. And so it's kind of like, really? Only one? At least, though, it's a good one. First off, they didn't do that transit bullshit. Thank God they learned that lesson. Transit was in Black Ops 2. It was the zombies mode, and you had a bus going around, and it was bullshit. It was trash. It was the worst zombies. Advanced Warfare even had better zombies. Carnage says Transit was kind of cool. Carnage is on drugs. More drugs than me. Transit was trash, and I am glad they didn't do that. This map definitely has more of the old school Kino der Toten feel. It's out in the open. There's rubble. It's a really cool map. It's not quite the same as being inside of an old building like Kino der Toten was. But, excuse me, sir.
Ignore the bunny.
Ignore the bunny. But yeah, they took a lot of things people bitched about in the last couple of Call of Duties and did away with them. One of my biggest gripes was that you couldn't get to Juggernog without doing... Juggernog is the potion that you drink that gives you a little extra health, by the way. You couldn't get to Juggernog without like doing this insane Easter egg ritual before you could even open the gate to it. Whereas now they're like, hey, look, it's Juggernog. It's right here. And I'm like, fucking yeah, thank you. Just let me buy my shit without having to and kill the zombies and go through the motions of just mindlessly plowing down a horde without having to do all the Easter egg stuff. Of course, if you do want to do the Easter egg stuff, it's there and you can bang your head into the brick wall to figure it out. I have managed to finish one Easter egg in all my Call of Duty history, and it was in Advanced Warfare. So it doesn't even count. Huh? Yeah, it doesn't count. Because Advanced Warfare, their Easter eggs were stupid easy. So, I don't know that I'm even gonna bother. Like, I can get to level 100, but when you tell me I gotta like start jumping on a certain brick for 5 minutes in round 97 to get an Easter egg going, I'm like, I don't care. And that's how the Easter eggs in Black Ops always are. It's always just some obscene stuff like stand directly 90 degrees from the sun and point your gun over the horizon to a palm tree in the west and just clip the second leaf from the right. And you're like, I don't have that kind of energy. I'm old.
I remember Chris Huber playing zombies at my place the one time, and he's like, oh, let me show you this Easter egg. And he's like running through all these corridors. He's like, I have to find this specific brick that has this design on it. Like, what? Yep. Why? Just fucking shoot zombies.
There's such a super cool story that wraps in. And I will more than happily go and read it on the Wikipedia page. I am not fucking around finding it. Now, the one thing I am super hyped to talk about when it comes to zombies, because otherwise I'm just like running in a circle mowing down zombies till I can get through as many rounds as possible. Which is fun, but it's a mindless fun. What I like is Dead Ops Arcade. I fucking love Dead Ops Arcade. My rabbit is having a fit. But
the rabbit loves Dead Ops Arcade as well.
He probably does. If he doesn't, then he needs a new home. So Dead Ops Arcade was in the original Black Ops 1. You had to do an Easter egg to get out of the chair at the very beginning and walk around to a computer that was shrouded in darkness and type in a code, and then you could play it. And it was basically a top-down twin-stick zombie mode. Now, with Dead Ops Arcade 2, they finally just added it to zombies. And now we have Dead Ops Arcade 3, and it is fucking incredible. They have really beefed it up. You can play with up to 4 players. You start off in one area of the map, you plow down the zombies, you can pick up, it's basically, if you sold me Dead Ops Arcade as a standalone $20 zombie horde mode, I'd be like, fuck yeah, give it to me. I'm not trying to give Activision any ideas, because I know that how they love to monetize shit and make it exclusive to PlayStation, so please don't do that. But if you did, I'm the sucker that would probably still pay for it, because I really fucking love Dead Ops Arcade. Yeah, long story short, Call of Duty is pretty fucking good. It gets a little weird, but it's pretty fucking good.
It's good to hear. Tim, what do you think of it?
Yeah, the shooting still feels really good. And the shooting still feels really good. Like, it still has that bombastic, explodey action movie style, like the aforementioned RC car flying up a runway to blow up an airplane. And like in the first kind of the initial level where you're like jumping over rooftops after this guy, there's like a moment where you jump off a roof and it like goes in slow motion and like your buddy's like slow motion sailing past you, like shooting. And it's like, I'm just sitting there, this is happening. I'm like, I bet this is something I'm supposed to think is cool. I can see what you're doing here. Yeah, I see it. I acknowledge it. There it is. But yeah, I am a far lapsed Call of Duty player. And yeah, it's decent, but I don't think it's not like something that's gonna flip me. I wasn't like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm missing out on Call of Duty. It's like still like, okay, yeah, it still feels good and plays well, but it's not like I'm gonna seek out, whatever the one is next year. So it's still still good. If that's your thing.
I wonder if your opinion is a little different because you haven't played the in-betweens. Like you
Maybe.
left the genre, or you left the franchise when it was still boots on the ground, and you come back to it and it's in that boots on the ground revitalization effort. And
yeah, like I missed the future.
Like you missed all the futuristic, really crazy shit.
I know,
and now you're just like, yeah, this is the same, and I'm like, you don't get it.
I just never, yeah.
It was like Back to the Future, but you were just sitting there sipping on a Mai Tai the whole time and never went anywhere.
God, well, $60 on this one, $70 for the cross-gen bundle. What do you think?
I would say if you're going to buy it, go ahead and bump up for the cross-gen. I wish they did smart delivery. They don't. Here we are. Cough up the 10 extra bucks, save yourself a little bit of money later. But yeah, ultimately, I think it's good. I think it's a buy. It's definitely better than Black Ops 3 and 4.
Tim, thoughts?
And 2.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, like if you're, I wouldn't recommend it to a non-coder, I guess, already. If it's not like already built into your shit, like it's not going to turn your mind around. But it seems good and solid and it has all that good COD stuff that it's had for, that it had back in the day, I guess. Yeah. But it seemed, Modern Warfare last year's, that was like the big kind of return. Like they brought back the Modern Warfare name.
Well, they did it with World War II too.
Yeah. So I guess, they've done that like 3 consecutive years now.
Yeah.
Like harkening back to like, oh, you like World War II? Here's World War II. If you liked Modern Warfare, here's Modern Warfare. And if you liked a story in Black Ops, like here is that. Here's getting back to normal in Black Ops. So it seems like they're trying to do like a turn of the decade revival, I guess you could say, right now.
Hey, the 80s are popular, so
yeah,
everyone loves the 80s now.
No, it's the 90s that are popular again now.
Oh,
Is it?
We already passed the 80s
Did we?
phase. Yeah.
I'm old.
They're not going to stop being popular.
I mean, I'm sitting here wearing a Golden Girls t-shirt, so there's that. You can tell where my heart's at.
Speaking of 80s mainstays, the getting new life, the next game to talk about is called Tetris Effect Connected, developed by Monstars Inc., Resonair, and Stage Games, published by Enhance, released November 10th on Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and Windows 10 for $39.99. Best part, it's available as part of Xbox Game Pass. Tetris Effect Connected is the original Tetris Effect with all new co-op and competitive online and local multiplayer modes. This is Tetris like you've never seen it or heard it or felt it before. An incredibly addictive, unique, and breathtakingly gorgeous reinvention of one of the most popular puzzle games of all time. Tim, I know you're excited to talk about this one, so tell us about it.
Am I excited? What if it betrayed me?
It didn't.
No, it not. There's some areas where it betrayed me a little bit.
Really?
But we'll get to that. I was surprised as anybody. So yeah, Tetris Effect is this I don't know, I guess you could call it like the best single player version of Tetris. Arguably, version of Tetris that came out on PS4 like a couple years back. which I got on PS4 a couple years back and played quite a lot of it. That was like the beginning of my sort of Tetris revival and Tetris becoming a regular part of my life again. Because I played a bunch of that, and then Tetris 99 came out, and sometimes I'll play a bit of the one, sometimes I'll play a bit of the other, but I played Tetris pretty on the regular for the past couple years because of Tetris Effect. And so, yeah, this is its debut on Xbox. It's found its way to Xbox. The connected mode will be, I guess, making its way to the other ones later, the old versions. But whatever, it's here on Xbox. I don't know if they made any graphical enhancements to it, or I just forgot, or it's because I have a nicer TV with HDR now. But holy shit, does this game look good! The whole idea is that this Tetris Effect, this version of Tetris is designed by the dude that made like Rez, that old Dreamcast psychedelic shooting vector gamey looking thing, and some other games too, Child of Eden, whatever. So, but his whole thing is synthesis. He's like trying to synthesize. That Gesundheit. Synthesizing like this audio visual rumble feedback experience in the game, really fusing the music and the sound effects with the visuals you're seeing on the screen. And it's just like he's trying to get people high without the use of drugs, basically, I think. But yeah, so the main mode of Tetris Effect and that which existed on PS4 in the past is the journey mode, where you'll go on this journey through like a few dozen different themed levels, maybe a couple dozen different themed levels, where each one has like a completely different visual style, completely different sound effects, and completely different music, and you kind of get them in 3, 4, and then like 5 level chunks, and you just kind of like glide between them and try to pass them. There's different difficulty levels for that. And it's just, it's great. It feels great to play. It is a great version of Tetris. It looks phenomenal. The way the sound and the visuals work together are incredible. Like, this is nothing new. Like, this game is 2 years old, or this part of the game at least is 2 years old. So that part is all great and amazing and worth it all on its own, really. What they've added to this, the connected version, is multiplayer. This version on Tetris Effect until now has had no multiplayer in it, no online multiplayer to speak of. And so they have some competitive modes, one of which is like it's a head-to-head Tetris versus mode, which is kind of classic, though feels weird without 97 other people involved at this point for me. Not quite of a savage knife fight as that. They have a score attack mode, and then they have score attack classic, which score attack classic is playing with NES Tetris rules, where there's no hard drops, no stocking pieces. It only shows you what the next piece is. It takes out a lot of that, the modern Tetris rules, the shadow in the well, like all that stuff. It is NES Tetris, which like the NES, it seems like there's Tetris championships are played on that as score attack head to head. So it's emulating that. And it's not just emulating those rules. It also emulates that visual style. Like modernized a bit, of course. It's not straight 8-bit, but it's those plain looking blocks. But then they also
Tetraminos.
Tetraminos. But they also have score attack with the modern rules with that look, except modernized a bit more, like with more visual flair, which is cool. And then there's that. But then the eponymous multiplayer mode is connected, which is a cooperative 3 players versus an AI boss. And you sit there and you play Tetris and you fill up a meter. And once the meter is full, your 3 boards join together as one, and you have an existential, transcendent, orgasmic experience playing Tetris with 3 other people at the same time. Or that's the gist of it. And you try to clear a bunch of lines, and that will do a fuck ton of damage to the boss. Really the only way to do significant damage to said boss. And Yeah, so it's like the way it'll work is you'll each drop a piece in turn. You're not like dropping 3 pieces simultaneously. It's like, okay, I got to drop my piece, and it'll show a shadow of where I'm looking to put it. And then the next 2 people, they'll have their pieces queued up so they can kind of show where they want to put it. And you can work around that. And then when it's, you drop your piece, then it's their turn. They'll drop their piece. Then the next person drops their piece. Then it's your turn again. And so, yeah, the idea is that you're connecting with people. It shows you, where on the planet that they are, that they're playing with you, and that you're going to make this beautiful Tetris together and defeat these bosses. And yeah, in practice, at least for me, it seems like a lot of people love this mode. For me, your playfield is very small because they are cramming 3, you and your 2 partners' playfields on there along with the boss's playfield. And that was pretty small on my TV across the room. And like the default viewing distance of a board in Tetris Effect is already very far away from you. Like I have to pull that sucker in. Zoom in is the first thing I do every match. And I mean every match because for whatever fucking reason they haven't saved that, let that be a setting you can save yet. But that's besides the point. So in playing the connected mode, it felt like, my playfield was very small, but it also like jitters around a lot. And I don't quite understand why. Like it'll just like move up and down and like a bit to the left and a bit to the right. So like I'm already like squinting at the screen and constantly having to like readjust to like as it's moving around, as you're moving pieces while it's dropping. But also the boss is fucking with you, and that's fine, really. It'll like shuffle up your lines. It'll mess with the texture of your board. It'll drop you a big piece every now and then, like a larger tetromino, not a big piece.
The big pieces are fun.
Have to deal with. Yeah. That you'll have to, and you'll also see, it'll drop it in there that you have to try to work around. And that's fine. But it because when it's doing that kind of stuff, that is like what's taking me out of like my relaxed Tetris concentration mode that like the game in its single player element is like so good at creating. And which also unto itself is not that bad. What I found is just like that these matches would just drag on, because when you go into a match, you're going up against 3 bosses in a row, and it just felt like it took for fucking ever to like get through there.
Yeah, the connected games were longer than I would have liked.
Yeah, like maybe one or it's. I feel like it would make sense to do like one at a time, and then you can choose whether to continue or because if somebody drops, it's just going to match somebody else in, and like that seems fine. But as it was, like I accidentally, like after I finished my first round, I accidentally clicked that I wanted to continue and play again, and I was like, oh fuck. Because once you're playing it online, there's no way to back out of a match, which, you don't want people doing that. You don't want people just dropping out in the middle of your co-op game. You don't want people just dropping out of your head-to-head match when you're about to lose. But, however, here's the thing. So, if you're playing, like, a score attack mode, and you finish, you fuck up, and you top out the well, and like you've set your score, and then you're watching the other person still going, so that person may surpass your score. Somehow they did really well and they did better than me. I kind of fucked up, but so they surpassed my score. I lost. Like the score thing came up, I lost. I still couldn't back out. I still had to sit there and watch this fucker play Tetris. Like, you can't pull up a menu. Even after you lost, even after the result was decided of the match, I could not leave. And I wanted to leave at that point because I was done playing Tetris for the evening. And so I had to, like, go out to the menu and force close the app. And I think that's shitty. Like, I get why you wouldn't want people just dinking out. But, like, if you're done, you're done. Let people leave. Seemed to be good for me. Also, I felt like the netcode wasn't the best. I definitely felt like a little bit of lag here and there, and like sometimes, like I know when it happens, because like I know when I drop a block in the wrong place and that I fucked up. I know, and sometimes it would just like land, and I'm like, I didn't do that, and I know I didn't do that. I know this from playing a lot of Tetris 99. Like when it happens in Tetris 99, I'm like, oh, that wasn't me. That was like some bad internet just swelled up in my house. But in my experience playing on Connected, it felt a lot more constant. I don't know why, but it did. So while the single player experience of Tetris Effect is here and intact and still phenomenal, like the multiplayer offerings that kind of this version is headlined around didn't really end up doing a whole lot for me, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. What did you think? Because I know you put some, a lot of time into it.
Yeah, rude. Yeah, I found myself wildly addicted, and I didn't.
You're playing it now, aren't you?
I was. I had to pause it, and then I started talking. And I was like, "Did I unmute myself?" But yeah, what am I doing again today?
Tetris.
No, I didn't play a whole lot of the multiplayer aspect of it though, because you can't do a private match unless you have 3 people. And I typically, at any given time, I have 1 person I can holler at to come play with me, but getting 3 people, and I don't like to play against randoms because I'm not that good at Tetris. Like, yeah, I'm doing an expert playthrough, but I still kind of suck at Tetris, and I'm gonna die 74 million times before I actually beat the expert playthrough. So I don't want to play against people I can't beat up on, which leaves me with Lightspeed and Studa.
And me.
And well, I don't know. I don't trust you.
You don't trust me at Tetris? What?
I feel like you're better at Tetris than you let on that you are.
I'm very good at Tetris. I have never shied away from saying that I'm good at Tetris.
I don't want to play anybody that's better than me at Tetris.
Well, then play Connected. Me, you, and Lightspeed will just do Connected and fight the boss.
Okay. I do appreciate that when you're playing Connected, it does let you know how much meter you were responsible for. So when I'm playing with 3 people and like my meter was over 50%, I'm like, come on, guys.
Raiderbiz is correcting me that you can't actually die, but that's just what I consider it when you get to the top and you got to start all over again because you lose. I play enough combat games where if you lose, you die, and you die, you lose, and those things are synonymous.
Who's to say? What happens?
You don't know. Your well, after you lose, could just like collapse on itself and kill a small village, and who knows?
Yes,
why is it over when it tops out if you're not dead?
Right? What if you just suffocate in Tetraminos?
You do.
Yeah.
Oh, $40 on this one. Tim, what do you think?
Yeah, anyway, yeah. I mean, like, the single-player journey alone is well worth the $40. The Connected, whether you like it or not, is just fluff at that point. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, like, the single-player is well worth it. And there are some extra modes that are where they'll give you with different challenges. And some they weren't doing it they did like weekend, like global challenges on the PS4 version that wasn't going on this past weekend in the Xbox One version that I saw. Maybe I'm crazy and missed it, but I would hope that they would do those where just like you contribute to like a global score and then you unlock like an avatar.
I thought I heard people talking about the fact that they had one and that we missed it, but I didn't see where Raiderbiz is saying that they did have a challenge. I didn't see it anywhere, so I'm not sure where it was.
Well, at least if they're doing them, it's something to keep an eye out for, and it was like a way to keep me logging in like every weekend just to play a few rounds of Tetris, even kind of after I had beaten the smack out of Journey mode enough times that I felt good about. But yeah, no, this game is excellent. It's fantastic. It is arguably the best single-player version of Tetris that has ever been. It's fantastic.
Cool. Call.
Tetris.
Why are you asking me if you should buy a game that I'm clearly very addicted to? Like, just hook it up to your veins at this point and go with it, because that's all you need.
And it's on Game Pass.
It's on Game Pass on Xbox and PC, because I was playing it on PC so that I could sit here and pretend like I wasn't playing it on PC.
Yeah. Proud of you.
Yeah.
Game Pass, the greatest deal in gaming.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's true.
Pretty much. I will say the one thing I don't like about the game is that there's such a heavy reliance on T-spins, and I cannot do T-spins because I just go for Tetrises.
I enjoy.
Oh, they're just like there's that scoring emphasis on T-spins.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't get the fascination with T-spins. I think they're stupid to set up. They're stupid to pull off. I would rather score Tetris than get 2 lines on a T-spin.
The game's called Tetris, not T-spin. Well, you got to get those 3-line T-spins.
Exactly.
I don't understand how those work either.
A T-spin is where you have a T block that you rotate into a spot that it might not normally fit into.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It just makes like it's literally breaking the game to do it.
Yeah.
It makes use of missing frames,
It's
essentially.
some funky shit. Yeah.
And I do it a lot on accident. I'm the queen of panic spinning. So like the moment something's not where it's supposed to be, I'm like, hit the button, hit all the buttons, spin. And then like I T-spin on accident. But it works.
T-spin.
All right. Well, Tim, that's it for you. I guess we'll let you get going.
Yeah.
You have any final words?
No, I got nothing tonight. Sorry. Laters.
Quick shout out to Vertically Impaired, who just subbed for the 32nd month.
Thank you. What's wrong with you? Bye.
32 months. Got laid off today, but still in good spirits. You'll bounce back. I know you will. Plus, you stream a lot, so you're good. Thanks, Tony. And thank you, Tim. Did he leave? He's gone.
I think so.
All right, next game to talk about is Pure Pool, developed by VooFoo Studios, published by Ripstone Publishing, released November 17th on the Switch for $14.99. Enjoy the most realistic and immersive simulation of Q Sports on the Nintendo Switch with stunning 1080p visuals and more ways than ever to play pool and snooker. Q Sports have never looked so good on the Switch, whether you're playing docked or on the go. Chris, tell us about Pure Pool.
All right, so Pure Pool. So while I was playing this game, I was like, wow, this is so much for a pool game. like, you know, just so much stuff in here, and like everything is so like accurate, and like there's so many like playing modes and things like that. So I was like, this seems the quality of this, like I recognize it. And so I pulled up the developer, and sure enough, this is the same developer that made Chess Ultra, which was a chess game that was like that had so much to it that you could literally play famous chess games in history, like, and set them up against an AI that is fashioned after a famous chessist. So,
chessist.
However, yeah, I don't know chess.
Yeah, we're going with chessist. I like that.
Chessist, yes. Well, in this game, so it's set up just the same way. I mean, graphics look real. The physics. Here's the way I know that the physics are accurate. When I started playing, I was making the exact same mistakes that I make on a real pool table. Because I'm not good at pool. I just played it a lot. I have, just like chess, I've played it for many hours and never improved because it's a game that you have to consistently stay on. So yeah, this is basically the Chess Ultra of pool. So yeah, it has the pool on it, like, you know, American 8-Ball, which is the only game I know. It also has 9-ball, black ball, snooker, killer, and accumulator. I don't know what any of those are.
I know 9-ball.
Yeah, I know it. What?
I said I know 9-ball.
You know 9-ball. Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Well, the cool thing is it has, of course, this being this kind of game, it has an extensive tutorial and rule list for every single game so that you know exactly what you're supposed to do. It tells you like everything about every game and general hints and tips and things like that. So if you are wanting to get into a new style of pool or billiard based game, then this is definitely the one for you. So, okay, it basically also gives you, so, you know, you can play a one-player game, of course. It even gives you like 5-6 different challenges for just single player, like that have nothing to do with like standard rules of pool, but it obviously utilizes the same thing there. And you can also like not only set yourself up with a computer player out of a pool of computer players in various difficulties. They're generally lumped into 3 difficulties, but you can also play against people online. You can set up matches with them. You can also go into a career mode single player where you basically there's 6 different career modes. So you got like amateur. No, I'm sorry. There's 9 different ones. There's 8-ball, 9-ball, and snooker, and then amateur, pro, and master on each game. So you can like play through a career on that one, and you gain levels and stuff like that, and that is reflected in your online profile. So then the other thing about players, if you just want to set up a quick game against just like opponent, then you can choose a computer player, of course, a human player, or here's the weird thing. I mentioned how detailed and particular this developer gets about these games. And I think Pure Pool may have the creepiest one I've heard of yet. Okay, so they have what's called player DNA. So people who play this game, the game is learning what you do across different parameters and in different variables and things like that, and it constructs a DNA so that the game knows like kind of how you're going to handle certain situations. If you prefer to clear the table with the balls that are the closest to the pockets, or if you like to save those strategically, or if you like to bank, if you tend to habitually use spin on the ball. All of these are, of course, options in the game. And it just kind of builds this portfolio or DNA. And you can then challenge your friend's DNA where you're playing a computer version of people you actually know.
That's cool.
It is really cool. Also, just a little creepy, but I mean, whatever. And they asked for my social security number for some reason. I have no idea.
That sounds like Forza's Drivatars.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Forza Horizon 4, I think it was 3, maybe 4, had the Drivatars that like learned your driving patterns and would then be a ghost in other people's games.
Nice.
Yeah, they started the Drivatars in I think Forza Motorsport 5, and then they just use them in everything now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, it's like that then, but in pool. And yeah, like I said, the actual action of playing the pool is really good. You can either use the Switch's touchscreen mode, which you just run your finger across the thing and make the things happen. Then there's also you can use the standard controller mode, where basically you position the cue with the left stick, and then the right stick, you hold it back and then push forward. Of course, the amount that you're pushing forward is going to determine how hard you're going to hit the ball. And then each of the face buttons corresponds to a different thing, like adding spin to the ball, which of course means putting the cue off center. And also you can slow the turning down to a super crawl so that you can get the absolute most accurate thing. And then you can push a button to quote unquote stand up, which gives you a standing up view of the table. You can't do, and I don't know if this is common in pool games. I always remember it being in there, but you cannot just look straight down onto the table like a top down view, which really? I always enjoyed. Yeah, I always like doing that, but I couldn't find that in this game. So I think that's their commitment to the realism of it. And yeah, there's just different little things that make it feel real. Like, for instance, if you're playing in a bar, there's people in the background. They actually have fortunately a toggleable, ambience, sound that comes out where you can kind of barely hear people talking and stuff. And then it's got a really good soundtrack of funky sort of, just music that you would imagine pool players listen to. It's all original to the game, and I like it. But obviously, it's all about the gameplay, and the gameplay is tight.
Nice. So overall, $15 on this one. What are you thinking?
Absolutely a steal. I mean, they could ask for more.
Don't suggest that.
I know, but still, yeah. I don't know how many pool games there are on the Switch. I think there's a couple cheap ones. You're going to want to throw those away unless they're just a really cool arcadey thing, because this is absolutely what a pool fan would be looking for. in like a pool experience on the Switch. So yeah, and of course, if you already own this on something else, because I know it's on other systems as well, at least the Switch adds like that touchscreen in. So, and it said on the page, not the actual game, but I think the Nintendo page said something about how you can use the Joy-Cons, but I could not figure that out. I don't think there's motion control or anything in this game. So, but no, $15, absolutely buy it if you like pool or would like to like pool.
I'm seeing choose from all new touchscreen controls, classic twin stick Joy-Con controls, Nintendo Switch Pro controller, and even dual Joy-Con support for multiplayer match. I think that just means like use a Joy-Con and your friend uses the other one to play multiplayer. Although that would be cool as shit if they had a way to like do motion detection on them where you're actually playing, and that would be interesting. I wonder how possible that is.
That would have been like the ultimate cherry on what's already a fantastic dessert. So, yeah.
All right. Well, next game to talk about is called Paw Paw Paw, developed by Simpleton, published by GrabTheGames, released November 13th on Steam for $9.99. Paw 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 was a peaceful and prosperous kingdom until one day when the king has decided to enforce everyone to wear pants. We are the resistance. We are the anti-pants. Chris, tell us about this one.
Okay, so Paw 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 is a like a stage-based brawler, essentially, where you play the starting cast is a bunch of adorable bears. They look angry, but when they get hit, their eyes do this like big teary-eyed anime-looking thing. So, it's a humor game for sure. But then you eventually unlock other characters that are other animals. Like I unlocked Doggo, which is, of course, a corgi with a sword. A sorgi? I don't know. Anyways.
Sorgi.
So this brawler has you taking your character across just different, backdrops, fighting different kinds of enemies who are also adorable animals, and completing other kinds of tasks in order to try and get to the castle and stop the Mad Bunny King. The king is a rabbit, and I guess got struck by a meteor or something, and then turned evil. And of course, its evil manifests in the whole pants law thing, and you of course are the resist pants. I don't know how to make a good pun out of that, but yeah. So you got all these like different backdrops and characters and enemies and stuff. So it starts off like of course there's an introduction, and then you go to the Anti-Pants HQ, which is where you build your character. So you can purchase and equip weapons there and potions, and that's also where you level up your character. Apply skill points to a skill tree. Of course, it uses a skill tree system. It's actually pretty elaborate. And the cool thing about it is that every character that you play in this game, it has a level, like its own unique level. So if you play through like a few levels as the one character and the soldier type character, and then decide you want to be a barbarian or an archer or a botanist, which is the assassin character type, but actually does have some skills that have to do with botany. So I guess it's not just a joke. Because it is kind of funny, because it's like the all black clad hooded, like, clearly an assassin character, but then it's called the botanist. Anyway, that's like the type of jokes that you kind of get in this game. But anyways, so each one of them, it saves each one of their levels. So you develop them all independent of each other. And then you can also build the skill trees and stuff. And it saves like that information. And that's good because if you want to level up several characters, the game is up to 4 players on the screen. So you can have like, your army of characters and not have to, if you've already got them leveled up and you're close to the end game, you don't have to worry about like everybody starting from scratch every time. So, and the other cool thing is if you die in a stage, you still get all the experience and treasure that you collected up to that point, and you just have to start the stage. Yeah. There's like, this game is meant to be a fun romp. There's like, besides that, like a brawler, it is a little difficult. It's one of those things where you eventually can just level through it, like you just gain enough experience and get that right sword, and you can pretty much overcome any challenge. And the cool thing is that the game does introduce challenges that aren't simply beating people to death. One of them is where there's like a cart full of bombs, and you have to push that cart to the other end of the stage. Meanwhile, the cart is throwing bombs everywhere, and those bombs are extremely dangerous, but they also affect enemies too. So if like enemies are on the screen and, you know, it throws a bomb at them, then they get pretty much wiped out. But yeah, you have to fight enemies and push this cart at the same time as, you know, dodging these bombs. So there's like more than just the core, you know, beating up people gameplay, which is kind of cool. Let's see, what else is there in this game?
Cole's muted. Let's bring her up.
Okay.
Hi, Cole.
Hi.
You playing Tetris?
I was actually answering Carnage in chat, so get fucked.
Anyway, back to Pa.
Okay. So yeah, and the other cool thing about it too is that, like, if, for instance, you play as an archer and your archer is too weak and you decide you just don't like them, or, you know, like, because I kind of didn't have a great time with the archer, if you want to upgrade their, like, weapons or anything, you can actually do it with any character. Drops are random and not specifically assigned to a character, so that you can just kind of go in there and, you know, collect like a better weapon to start off the other character with. So that's kind of a cool strategy that I'm utilizing. And then let's see, what else is there? Oh, you can hire AI second players if you want. They are cute bunnies, and they are the only thing that experience permadeath, because like the money is actually represented as wheat, which you get if you pick up any food item that is dropped throughout the game. And they're pretty darn generous with it in this game. So, you know, you can go through and load yourself down with potions and then hire a bunny rabbit barbarian and, you know, try and clean house. So past that, I mean, the whole thing, it's a simple type of game that is in a very attractive, like the graphics are really nice looking and very, you know, a detailed package, as it were.
Cool. So $10.
Yeah, $10 is just fine. I say buy it if you like brawlers, and especially if you have other players that would like to play this with you.
Cool beans.
Yeah.
Next game to talk about is called Mars Horizon, developed by Auroch Digital, published by the Irregular Corporation, released November 17th on Xbox One, Switch, PS4, and PC for $19.99. Lead a major space agency as you guide humanity to Mars in this strategy simulation game. Construct a base, design and build rockets, conduct missions throughout the solar system, and write your own history of space exploration. Pernell, tell us about Mars Horizon.
So Mars Horizon is essentially a space sim game. And the idea being that you are one of 5 nations, real nations, not fantasy nations. And the game itself takes place during pretty much in historical terms, the beginning of the space race. The goal being to explore the cosmos, starting with the orbit of Earth and ending with, well, you'll just have to see. Anyway, yeah, that's right. I threw some mystery in there. Anyway, the way this gameplay loop takes place is an interesting one, and one that I didn't expect to originally bring me in, but in the end, it kind of clicked in a cool way. So the way the game works is that you are kind of coordinating a series of events. Firstly, research into rocket ships that you would utilize to fulfill various missions that fall along an era listing. Era listing being a series of missions that would ultimately lead up to the ultimate area of space exploration, starting from the ground up, like getting your first rocket to take off and not explode. And then again, orbiting the Earth, and then eventually getting into lunar orbit and finding the moon. And as you proceed, you'll actually discover more planets and so on and so forth. So you got to develop and research rockets, being the booster being the part of the rocket that pushes up the actual payload container, which is, I guess, the upper stage. And then from in there, you have the payload, which is usually whatever cargo or, you know, satellite or whatever you're trying to launch into space. And as this is happening, you have to pretty much manage the amount of money it costs. You have to manage income so you can pay for the cost that was required to build these components. You have to manage basically the means of which to launch these products. So, for example, The booster needs to be strong enough to handle the upper stage and also carry the payload. And all of these things have reliability aspects. So like if you put the right combination together, it won't be guaranteed to actually succeed in launching. There's still an actual chance of it falling apart in space, in launch, if it explodes, if maybe it reaches orbit but doesn't release the payload. All sorts of things can possibly go wrong, as you'd expect. And it's weird too, because when you play games, or rather, correction, when I play games, I want guaranteed rates of success. I want to be able to say, if I take these two things and put them together, it will work without fail. But they are legitimately trying to mimic the aspects of learning and growing as an agency to develop space tech. And of course, even in the present day, it's not a guaranteed success half the time with this stuff. So they want to actually they want to mimic that element of potential failure in there. So you're researching the vehicles to launch the actual payload into space. And you're also researching facilities to build in your actual space station on Earth. So you might have like mission control, which is what allows you to even take on a mission, which I'll get into in a second. You have astronaut training facilities, which will be utilized to hire astronauts in the event that your mission requires a manned flight. And you can train the astronauts too by building training facilities so they can actually specialize in specific areas to make various aspects of the launch potentially more successful. So, of course, all these things cost money as well. So, better get that cash. And how do you make money in this freaking game too? Well, and just like how it would be with NASA in this society, which for the record I chose America because I know who NASA is. Your income primarily comes from the government. So, as each year goes by, you earn stipends from the government, and you have to properly spend that money throughout the course of your year. And as you take on missions into space and succeed, hopefully, you will garner community support in your endeavors. Those community support boosts will increase the amount of reputation you have with the government, and then each year when you get your yearly stipends, you have a chance of actually earning more money, which allows you to take on more expensive research and missions that require that expensive research. So I should probably talk about how a mission even works in this game. So the first thing you need is an actual mission slot, basically the means of which to handle an operation. More mission control stations means that you can actually take on more missions. You earn more slots, which allows you to do more work. And then there are actually two types of missions in the game. There are essentially like milestone missions and request missions. When you click on an actual planet in the solar system, that determines what missions are available associated with that planet. Milestone missions are the ones that are required to be done in order to progress yourself along the actual path of success. And it works through a series of eras. Eras replicating, the eras of space travel and, society, like real life space travel. And then, of course, maybe some other stuff. Now, when you take on a milestone mission, you're also competing with the other nations as they're doing their progress, making their progress too. And if you complete the mission prior to them, you get a better reward for completing the mission than they got. What are the rewards? Well, more support, like I mentioned before, it increases your income. And there's also science. Science is essentially the currency in the game that you have to spend to do research. If you don't have enough science, you can't research products. You can't research technology. You can't research anything. So you'll be taking on missions just to build science currency up too. So usually these era milestone missions require various levels of research to have been done too, because you have to have the means of which to say, we can now send a monkey into space because we've looked into it, we put in the work, let's get that chimp up there. So if you haven't gotten the science to pull that off, you can take on request missions. And request missions are essentially like free missions in like an RPG, where an agency might say, hey, we need you to test, this sound equipment in space so we can determine, how sound travels in space. And you take on that mission and fulfill it, and you'll get, decent boosts in your support in science, so you can actually do the research and do the big milestone missions. And it's all about balancing all this in order to do it before the other nations do it. But when you take on a mission, you go through a simple process. Well, it sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty simple by the way the game's interface takes it on. You have to construct the payload, which requires you to go in and choose from a series of various types available. And those various types determine, various levels of reliability, whether or not, the odds of it being successful or not. Whether it's like how, you pay money for how well constructed it is, or you can, skimp on the payment to make it, weaker or cheaper to be construct, but it also makes it less reliable when it goes up into space. A variety of different things there. And it's a fairly simple process to break it down, to be perfectly honest with you. I make it sound more complicated than it actually is. Once you choose that, the game will tell you about how many months in game it'll take to construct it. And when it's done, the game will kind of determine a random trait to associate with the work. So let's say you construct a payload, and after 3 months of constructing it, the game tells you, congratulations, this thing is like 10% more reliable than we originally expected it to be, but unfortunately it costs us a bit more money to construct it, so it's got to take some more money out of your coffers. These are like all random events. You don't get to determine what they are, and you just kind of have to hope that they work out for the best. And sometimes nothing will happen. But once you construct the payload and it's ready to launch, you then have to construct the actual rocket. And it goes back to what I was saying before, the booster and the upper level. And these are things that you research in advance to have access to them. So depending on the payload and what you're transporting, you might have to have a more expensive variable or item available to cover the cost and weight of it all. Then last thing you do is choose a launch date. And you choose it by month again. And when the time comes to actually make the launch happen, it's usually optimal. You want to choose optimal conditions for the initial launch based on the calendar date. But just because you chose a date that seemed optimal doesn't mean you won't deal with rain, heavy rain, snow, whatever. And if you get these events, well, that will decrease the odds of you succeeding on your mission. You're allowed to reschedule. But if you do, you run the risk of, another nation doing something before you or whatever. So you kind of have to weigh those costs. And then lastly, when you come through all this, you press launch and you get to watch a cool little animation where the rocket actually takes off, and you have to determine, or you have to watch and see if it succeeded or not. And surprisingly, it's engaging to watch it go, and you're kind of hoping, like, come on, please make it. Please make it. I cannot afford to lose $100,000 on this project. And if it succeeds, yep, you'll get your reward in the form of support and science. And if it fails, well, you'll lose it. And if you had an event that, pretty much had an increased detriment to if you fail a mission, well, you'll really suffer then. Because if the media is watching your mission and you fail it, well, you'll take a larger penalty than you would have if they didn't care. So stuff like that. It's pretty interesting. And then the other thing I should probably mention is when you construct the base itself, basically all the different facilities that are utilized to make up your space station, or not your space, but your, Cape Canaveral, so to speak. It's kind of cool how when you place buildings, depending on how the buildings are adjacent to other buildings, you'll get bonuses to your actual facilities. So some buildings, when placed next to it, you might say get a increase, like you might earn 2% more money on your, your monthly stipend or yearly stipends. Other times you might get, a reduction in time required to build products or build rockets, stuff like that. So when you're laying the buildings down, it's not just a matter of, this looks pretty cool. You also want to be like, okay, placing this building here would be bad because it would actually increase the cost of facility running because, now because I put it here, the upkeep every month to pay for it is a little higher. So don't put it there. So it's an interesting little base construction game too. In the end, hopefully it's kind of hard to even tell if I even describe this fully because there's a lot to this game. But
yeah, it sounds complicated.
That's a weird thing, though. It sounds complicated, but it's really not. And it's probably because of the interface these guys created. When you start the game and you get it moving, there's a pretty handy tutorial that kind of walks you through some of the early phases of working the system. Like, hey, here are some starting missions you should take on just to get yourself going. But here's how to go through the process of engaging in each step. So it walks you through, the general process of getting things done. The only thing that really got me hung up initially was the fact that I had a point where I was like, okay, research this thing, but I wasn't making enough science, generating enough science to actually have it progress. So I felt like I was doing something wrong because I was like, why isn't anything happening? Russia's beating me. Fuck Russia. And it was like, well, turns out I wasn't paying attention and I just wasn't generating the signs I needed. I needed to find a way to go back and earn some signs. But aside from that, for the most part, I would honestly say it's fairly straightforward. It's primarily because of the excellent tutorial and the user interface they created for the game. About the only issue I even encountered the entire time I've played it was there was one mission where I had to do a launch and I was waiting for the, mission control screen to switch to the launch screen. But it didn't do it because the game just kind of locked up there. And it was like, it was going through the motion of doing all the stuff, but I didn't get to watch the launch. And ultimately I kind of failed on the mission launch because I didn't see the, rate of failure. And I just was like, go launch. And then of course it failed and media was watching. So I lost a lot. So I was like, well, reload my last save. Screw that.
Proud of you.
But aside from, you damn right. I don't mess around. It's an expensive launch. But for the most part, that's the only issue I had. I think the game, it surprised me, to be honest, because I had hopes for it, but Sims can go either way for me. I'm not like a Sim junkie. So if it doesn't hit the right buttons, I'll turn away from it very quickly. But honestly, once the gameplay loop for this starts going, it's very nice. It's got a clean interface. It's an engaging concept. Yeah, it's just fun. I like it a lot.
Cool. So $20, your verdict?
I think it's worth it, especially if you're a big fan of like sim games involved. I guess like maybe Civilization is a good comparison because you research technology and you advance as a community there. In this game, you're just advancing as a program, but same idea. So I think it's worth it.
Cool. Moving on, next game to talk about is Vera Blanc Full Moon, developed by Winter Wolves, published by Ratalaika Games, released November 10th on PS4, 11th on Xbox One, 13th on Switch for $4.99. Vera Blanc is a mystery detective game. Take on the role of Vera Blanc, a young and beautiful woman with an extraordinary power, the ability to read other people's minds. Daughter of Emmanuel Blanc, one of the richest people on Earth, she left her life of luxury to use her powers to work alongside paranormal detective Brandon Mackey. Chris, tell us about Vera Blanc Full Moon.
Okay, so Vera Blanc Full Moon is of course, a visual novel. One of the many that Ratalaika has been putting out, and this one is actually from 10 years ago. So they're really kind of reaching down into the back catalog for this one. But this is actually a really cool one. So you play the story follows Vera Blanc, who basicly it's kind of in the intro is explained that basically she was a super genius already, who then got brain cancer or something like that, and her father, who was a brilliant scientist, did something, and now she's fine and can also read people's minds. Of course, thinking that this is a detective story, that having mind reading abilities would make it a very quick play. Because obviously she can just be like, read somebody's mind and see if they're guilty or not. Fortunately, the game is able to skirt around that by saying that she can only read what they're thinking in that moment. So if they're not thinking about how, I'm guilty of murder, then they can still get away from her. But the other cool thing is that it's a detective thing, but it's not like a whodunit. It's actually there's a werewolf and it's dunning it. We need to find out about that werewolf and who may know about it and how we can stop it. And so that's kind of what the story follows. And of course, you make decisions throughout the story that affect the plot overall. How well you get along with Dude Bro, whose name I've already forgotten. He's just a smarmy guy with sunglasses, and but of course you gotta do that investigative thing with him, and and so basically the main gameplay difference, the twist, as it were, to this game is that optionally, that is to say, you can just turn it off and read the book if you want. You can choose to read people's minds, whoever you're in contact with at the moment, and choosing that will take you to a mini game where you basically have to play a game of Hangman to So it's got the keyboard up there, and you have to choose letters. And if you make 3 mistakes, then you fail the mini game, and you don't get to read their thoughts, and you just have to choose another dialogue option. There's always another dialogue option. However, there's other mini games as well. Like, for instance, early on, depending on your choices, etc., you can uncover a bomb that's on a train, and so you have to defuse the bomb. Should you choose to, and that also has its own mini game. So there's like various mini games, and of course the mini game for that one is like speed concentration, like concentration where you have all the cards laid down, face down, you turn them, and only speed concentration is obviously you have like 2 minutes to do it, but you can unturn them as many times as you like. It's just you can only do 2 at a time, which is a game I learned from Super Mario 3, but I actually have played it with cards before. Anyways, so, and true to form, it's a Ratalaika game, so there's easy trophies in this one. You get trophies basically for reading the book. Like every time you get to a new area, it's a trophy. And then if you play all of the mini games at least once, just play them. You don't even have to win them. That's it. You got a platinum.
Job Ratalaika. That's what we expect.
Yeah, exactly. And finally, there, because I feel like the last 3 Ratalaikas they've caught on to us and made them too difficult. But no, this one's right out there. And so that's basically it. You just read a book. It's done in comic book style, which I appreciate because that means that you don't have to just watch 2 characters stand on either side of a dialogue box, which I don't mind that, but I do like it when VNs like branch away from that and actually show scenes and like action and things like that. Like it's more of that kind of game.
Yeah.
Art's pretty good. Not like mind blowing or anything. It's like a pulp comic book kind of thing. And like that's basically it. I like the mini games. I actually, was more interested in playing more Hangman because I'm actually pretty good at it than it's probably all the Wheel of Fortune I've played because that's kind of the same concept. But yeah, I was actually really into like the puzzles in terms of that, like maybe even more so than the story. But the story's still good. Like I said, it's not like gonna rock your world, but it is a solid read. And there's also a sequel that was originally made, so maybe that will maybe we'll end up seeing more Vera Blanc at some point.
Maybe, but $5 on this one. What do you say?
I think that if you are a VN fan, then it's good. I would give it a kind of, I say buy it. I think that it's got a good amount of content and it's an interesting enough story. But if you like the idea of having a visual novel broken up by some pretty fun little mini games, then totally buy it. But at $5, it's also a fuck it, why not? So I liked it enough. There was, besides the fact that it's older, so there's not a lot of accessibility options, that's the only complaint I have, really.
Otherwise, sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. Next game is Drawngeon, Dungeons of Ink and Paper, developed and published by DarkDes Labs, released November 13th on Xbox One and Windows 10 for $4.99. Inkland, the hand-drawn unusual world, reveal the secret of the mysterious tower in this old-school role-playing game with a first-person perspective, real-time combat, and grid-based movement. Chris, tell us about Drawngeon.
Grid-based movement?
That's what it says.
Huh. Oh, well, I thought it was more like... All right. Anyways, whatever. Maybe that's a different definition than what I was thinking of. Okay, so Drawngeon. This is actually one I purchased long ago when it came out on the Switch because I love first-person RPG style games. And what I like about this one, especially because this is the Windows 10 release that I'm reviewing, is that so the controller interface is pretty good, but this is obviously, this harkens back to the old PC games such as like Ultima Underworld, for instance, which is one of my favorites. And so it uses like the WASD keyboard and like Q and E for turning and stuff like that, and then the mouse for everything else pretty much. And that is so much better than the controller interface. So I'm really glad to be playing it on a PC. but you can also play it with a controller. I tried both ways, and they're both just fine. So Drawngeon is a roguelike, essentially, in that, there's certain things that are definitely like the same way every time you play the game, but every treasure chest is going to be different in every playthrough, and and while you can, of course, save it, while you've got a character, if that character dies, then you're starting over. So it's apparently a short game, depending on whether or not you die a lot. So I die a lot. So I have not seen the end of this short adventure, quote unquote. But basically, it involves, like, you start the game right next to a seller and a guy who sells, and there's several houses where they, quests are like, please clear the houses of these spiders, and then you just go into the houses and fight spiders. Like that's kind of like the extent of like the real storyline of the game, but it all basically gets you to the point where you build up the character a little bit, and then you go try to tackle the wizard's dungeon tower, which is of course a multi-floor, like big old thing that the layout changes, and like I said, every treasure chest is different in every playthrough. So it's like that. That's a pretty common flavor for this sort of game. The cool thing is, like, of course, the presentation is all done on pen and paper. That's animated, so if you don't like monochrome and like squiggly lines, then stay away from this game. But I actually really I dig the look of it, actually, and it's got cool different things, like if a door that you can open will have like a squiggly line across it that's a color, green or red or whatever, or like a purple one will be a closed door that you need to do some stuff to get open. Enemies come at you. They're clearly like paper cutout enemies, and they try to make them look creepy, but honestly, everything in this game looks just goofy. And that's good because the game has a sense of humor. So you can purchase weapons and items from like a normal guy, but in order to sell items, you have to find this weird ass face that's sticking out of the ground, and you just like throw items into its mouth, and it gives you money. Like, that's how you get rid of items, which you'll be doing a lot because you have very limited inventory space in this game, unless you get like inventory upgrades through the games, like skill trees and leveling up and stuff. So, and which is, pretty cool that you can customize your character in that kind of sense. Any character can equip anything, as far as I can tell. Like, there might be some stuff that some characters can't equip, but because of the stat requirements, you have 3 different, your archetypical warrior, mage, and thief types across 2 genders. And which, by the way, if you want to be a male wizard, then your character portrait is just a dude in a trilby, which I hate. So, but yeah, and then like. But obviously it's a first-person RPG roguelike, so the characters don't matter. They literally don't. Do they even have names? I think they just use your username for Xbox or whatever. So, anyways, so yeah, you just go through. One button you click to attack, one button to block, another button to use, and like I said, it's one of those. Again, it's old school, so it's not just free movement with the mouse. You actually have to use the WASD keyboards to do, forward, backward, step to the side, step to the other side, and then the Q and E buttons to actually turn, or the shoulder buttons on the controller will turn you. So you can't just turn with the mouse. However, in this particular version, it's kind of cool because obviously you can't just look around 360. Like, you can look a little bit up, a little bit down, a little bit to the sides, and the view will actually follow the mouse cursor to a degree. And again, you want to use the mouse because it lets you drag and drop in your inventory and do all this stuff. In the Switch and the controller version of the Windows 10, it's like you have to push like the ZL button and then scroll through the inventory and then push one of 4 buttons to interact with the item in a certain way. And that took me a long time to get used to. So I actually really enjoy that I can just drag and drop now. But yeah, the game's a little bit difficult, but with some cleverness, of course, you can overcome. And then you also may find yourself in possession of the oh man, I've lost it now. I sent you a picture of the forged mustache of the knight, which is an armor item for rogues mostly because it's a dexterity item. You can also equip beards on the wizards, and that's their armor. Yeah. I like a spot of humor in this without it becoming like, you know, a goofy game, but
has like a West of Loathing vibe to it where it's all scribbly and kind of goofy, but still serious enough that it's an enjoyable game.
Exactly. Yes. I rather enjoy this game. So I'm, you know, it's nice to, because of course my Switch games, you know, fall into the backlog, like, you know, so many fries in the inside of a car. So, so I had not picked this one up in a while. So getting this game on Windows 10, like it was nice to revisit it again. So
$5, your verdict?
Absolutely worth it for $5. Come on. It really is a fuck it. Why not? If you like any kind of like, you know, first person RPG, swinging swords and, you know, getting through dungeons and stuff, this one's worth a look for sure. And, I bought it myself once, so I can definitely say I consider it a buy it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Final game to talk about tonight. We are taking one more trip to the Black Desert, developed and published by Pearl Abyss, available on Xbox One and PS4. The Prestige Edition launched at retail for $29.99 and includes $140 worth of various bonus content, including a black leopard pet, 2,000 pearls, and more. Black Desert is a living world MMORPG. Experience fast-paced, action-packed combat, hunt monsters and huge bosses, fight with friends in a guild to siege nodes and region castles, train your life skills such as fishing, trading, crafting, cooking, and much more. Pernell, it's been another week in the Black Desert. What do you think?
I'm having trouble navigating the Black Desert, and it's hard to say how that makes me feel about the game as a whole, as far as how other people could perceive it. But in my world, it's how to describe it. So I understand that. I had to look at this a little bit, but I understand Black Desert's been around for a while, and there's been a lot of updates and expansions added since it came out, which may partly explain why I'm experiencing what I'm experiencing with the game. Because, to put in perspective, the last big MMO I played was, believe it or not, World of Warcraft, back when that very first came out, like when it launched. And I played it for a good 700 or so hours.
Damn.
But during that time period, like the game, when you played it, it was fairly intuitive to get involved in it. You know, you started off on the homeland of whatever race you chose. They kind of guide you through like getting new skills. It guide you through, you know, like pretty much anytime you had something new you had to do, it guided you. But with this game, the hiccup ended up becoming that they guide you early on, like go over here for your first quest. And okay, now that you've done that, you know, follow this arrow. And you can talk to the Black Spirit by doing this. Okay, so far so good. But once you get to that first main town, it just went off the rails. Like missions are like it waited. Like I think it was like I had trouble even knowing sometimes when I need to talk to the Black Spirit to confirm my next mission, or my next main mission anyway, or if I had to go back to the original person. It's just like the game hits you at this point where all the stuff that you can possibly do is just out there, and it's like, okay, well,
it's like sensory overload.
It literally is. Like heck, you might see a person in town you need to talk to. The game will say something random about. You have enough information about this person. It's like, okay, well, I guess I got to find the information on a person. But where do you find it? From talking to people. Who? Everybody. You want to go fishing? Yeah. How do you start to go fishing? Good luck finding it. Maybe you'll find the guy that does fishing. We were talking earlier. You're like level 40, you said.
I'm level 40 in the game. I have never fished. I don't know where to go to fish. I don't know who I'm supposed to talk to start the fishing quest. I think I'm long past it.
I honestly stumbled across the fishing thing. Like, it wasn't even like I was looking. It was just like, I'm just talking to as many people as I can in hopes of stumbling across something. And I found the guy who sold me a rod. And I was like, okay, now I'll put this to use. And I started fishing. But like, there's like getting a residence, getting people to work for you, because you can apparently hire farm workers. You can start trading routes between nodes. So I think that's one of the primary ways to make money, because making money seems not particularly easy in the game. Like, you don't get it from drops. You have to sell stuff to get money. And one way I think I seen the grasp was like you could buy an item in one town and then like carry it to another trading location where it's worth more money and then sell it there to get a turnout of profit. A couple times I've gotten gold bars as rewards, and you can sell the gold bar for silver, and the silver is currency you can spend. But like, it's just, the whole time I played it, I just felt like I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I would I'd fight monsters and level up, yeah. And I did get a hang of like how the skill systems work there. Like, there's like a big skill tree. And when you go in there, if you have the prerequisite level and the skill points amassed, you can level up skills. But as far as, and you can also buy some skills too, because sometimes like if you level up to the point where you can use it, you start to spend the skill points to unlock it in and of itself. But then here comes another hiccup I had. And this is probably more so an Xbox thing, or rather a console on the TV thing than on your PC thing, which is that good luck reading the buttons to determine how to do the moves. I'm like squinting to read how to do Celestial Spear. And even when I did read it, it kind of conflicted with how you did another thing. I think it was like blocking. So it was like something called punishment. It conflicted with how you did punishment. So I was like, okay, do Celestial Spear. It's like, no, you did punishment, but since there's no one near you, you can't use punishment. So where does the spear come out? Oh, when it's charged up. Where's it charged up? Boom. But then also another thing is that, and this could also be just I'm an old man thing, but you can tell me what you think. The UI is hyper cluttered, and it's kind of hard to even read the right side of the screen because the game is fairly bright, even with you, unless you, I guess, maybe I can just tweak the slider the other way, but you know how that goes, where you say slide it until you can see the icon barely, which means, to my understanding, it was the brightness it was intended to be. But just reading sometimes on the right panel, like, okay, here's like your 20 missions. Good luck seeing any of them. But you can, again, squint and hopefully they stand out. But it's just essentially a matter of, it gets to the point where I found myself in a position where I would hopefully locate like a quest I could do, whether it was like naturally on my list of things to do from like completing the last one, or I'd fumble through the quest log and pick one. And then I'd just follow the line to wherever.
Drop it,
guy would give me some feedback, and I'd keep moving and just keep moving, just doing stuff. But for the most part, I never quite felt like I was engaged in the game. I just did stuff. I just did the next thing I could possibly do. The most I enjoyed about the game was probably the combat, because, again, like I think I mentioned it last week, the combat is very fluid. Attacks are done by way of button presses, so it's almost like you can string together attack combos as long as you have the necessary resource that your character type uses to perform attacks. But even with that, the one downside I experienced was that enemies themselves never truly posed a challenge. I was just kind of like rocking like a few specific attacks over and over again. Like, it felt good to use them, but I never felt like I was experiencing a real challenge there. So that might just be because of me. But it never really felt like I was pressed. It was just like, okay, knock these guys out, move on. Knock these guys out, move on. But it's I don't want to say the game is bad, but at the same time, I don't particularly feel jazzed about it either. I can't come on here and be like, I had a blast playing this game, and I'm not predisposed to dislike MMOs, because even though I said last one I played was World of Warcraft, that's not because I dislike MMOs. It's mainly the fact that when it comes to MMOs, my main concern is that I'll live in them forever. So for anything, my main concern isn't that I don't like them, is that I'll become trapped because I become addicted to them. But in order to become addicted, it has to grab you. It has to hit you with the loop to make you feel like one more go, one more mission, one more piece of equipment. You know the deal. One more stat boost on my, I'm collecting berries. I can collect more berries when I harvest bushes, But I never got that when I was playing this. I never experienced that. I spent more time in the bushes than I did on the road, so to speak, as far as how I felt about my progression and experience. And it just didn't get me. And I feel bad because, they were nice enough with the code, but it just wasn't clicking. But what about you?
I'm having fun with it, but I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. It's like I said before, it's just so overwhelming, sensory overload with there's just so much to do in the game that it's hard to keep track of what you need to do, what you haven't done, what's available to do. You'll see, speech bubbles on the map. You'll go over to it thinking it's a quest, and it's just someone who says one thing and then nothing else. And I don't know if I'm supposed to talk to them differently or approach them differently or do something with. I really don't know. One thing I did want to bring up with this game is it is enhanced for the Series X and S, and holy shit, are the load times so much better. How long does it take you to load into the game? A minute?
No, way more than that. And I'll tell you how. So the game might take me 2 to 5, though I attribute it to potentially being like an external hard drive or something. But then even when I'm in the game proper, it's still loading. Like, I spend a lot of time talking to people that either aren't on the screen or it's like a black silhouette. And it's just like, oh, because the game hasn't loaded the character yet, but they're there, so it's giving me their dialogue and stuff.
No.
So, I mean,
that initial load, once you select your character, that initial load to get into the game.
2 to 5.
It takes that long?
Yes.
About 5
That's what I'm saying.
seconds.
Really?
It was near instant. It was insane how fast. Like, I selected my character, set my controller down, expecting it to load for, I don't know, in 30 seconds, 40 seconds. I don't know if it's ever taken me 2 minutes. That might be, maybe something's up with your hard drive. But I was expecting it to take a good amount of time, and it was 5 to 10 seconds. It was loaded in completely. It was unbelievable how fast the load times are on the Series X with that game.
I'm trying to remember, does the Series X use solid states now?
Yes.
That'll do it. Yeah. That'll do it.
But
yeah.
Just the drastic difference of how this game has improved so much load time wise with the Series X on this hard drive. It blows my mind. I was expecting an improvement. I wasn't expecting this much of an improvement.
Well, like solid state drives have a way of just making everything better, and they're less prone to failure too. So, in and of itself, is probably going to make damn near every game flow like wine. So, I do look forward to eventually getting my hands on some of that action.
Yeah.
I would think one thought I had, it might already even exist for all I know. If there was some sort of so you're new to Black Desert official guide, just something, whether they put it on the game as an attachment, you can just boot up on the game proper and just read it like a text document in the game. But something to just says, if you're new to this game and you want to get an idea of how you should go about getting started, try these things start up your first trading node by starting talking to this guy, or I don't know. So you want to get a house. I still don't
understand the trading nodes. I don't get them.
Wouldn't it be nice if there was something that said this is what trading nodes are all about, and if you want to get on them, check this out. This is the concept of me. Is it should feel intuitive. It should feel like in the game, if you don't have a document to tell you about it, it should feel intuitive to say, here's a person in this town. They stick out because they're in front of a big building that says, I don't know, dispensary. And then when you walk in, the guy is hey, welcome to my dispensary. Do you want to dispense goods? Check this out. And it's here you go. And all of a sudden, you know how this works. So if you see it in other areas or other places, it's oh, that's that thing from that other town. I understand that it makes sense, and now it's just a natural thing. So you just do it all the time when you come across it. But in this game, it's just here's this massive hodgepodge of stuff with a very chaotic UI and a bunch of screens that link to all kinds of other screens. It's a freaking ton. It's a lot of stuff, and it was bugging me. It was getting me. But that's also why I don't want to already say the game is bad, because I don't know. I don't think the game is particularly bad. It's overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take one more look at it next week. Hopefully something clicks with you in that time. But for now, is it worth dropping the $30 on for the Prestige edition with all the goodies in there?
Right now, I can't say it because I'm already saying I can't get into it. So I'd rather give it that one more week, and I'll make the verdict then.
Sounds good. But that is it for this episode. We made it through another one. Congrats, everyone.
Hooray.
Cole's muted still.
Hey.
She's playing Tetris.
I was.
Tetris is back.
Stop snitching, you bastard.
Smells like Tetris in here.
Smells like Tetris. That's a good episode title.
Ooh, yeah, there you go.
Oh, Jesus. I try.
Oh, man. So does anyone have any final words to end the show?
Yeah, I can't top smells like Tetris in here. I'm kind of tapped out.
Smells like mustache.